Hey guys, happy Sunday. Welcome to Etcetera Live. I'm your host, Kelly Barrett. Super thrilled for my guest tonight for a couple of reasons. Number one, I have the lead frontman from one of my favorite bands, 5440. And I also have Neil Osborne, along with Neil Osborne. Is it Biz and Niz? Is that what they call you?
Niz and Kiz.
We call each other.
Yeah.
In the house.
I started calling her Kiz. So.
Just nicknames.
To talk about their new band, A Family Curse. Welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Kelly?
I am doing great. So tell us about your summer. We were kind of talking a bit before the show, and you guys were super crazy busy. Can you tell us what you were up to?
Well, we had a tour in June, mostly through Southern Ontario. Well, all of through Southern Ontario, actually. It was pretty intense, kind of every day. But we were playing everywhere. So we played the Alma Combo, but then we also played someone's garage.
Which was great.
And we played someone's living room, and then we played this awesome club in and Sound. And we had Danny Michelle with us, who was the drummer. So, yeah, it was fun, you know, and then we had no sound man, no roadie. So it was new for me to have to hump my own gear and set it up.
Yeah, imagine you normally have people to do that for you, Neil, don't you?
Yeah, usually,
as he kept saying, I usually have people for this.
It's weird.
It was a humbling experience, no doubt.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
I'm sure it has. And so I'm assuming that you're talking about touring with A Family Curse.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And I was just curious, you toured with 5440 as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
We've done, gosh, I don't know how many shows this summer. We just came back from Winnipeg, something like 30, 35 in the summer alone. So lots. Right
on. It's good to be back. We were talking before the show. So good to be back. And now you have this new venture. So I really want to talk about this album. But you know what? First of all, Kandle, can you tell us a little bit about your foray into the music industry and how your journey started?
Yeah, I started a band with my sister, actually, when we were teenagers, called the Blue Violets. And we, did some cool tours. We played in China and stuff. And the whole band kind of went their separate ways with different career choices. And I was stuck with a whole bunch of songs. So I thought I'd try my luck as a solo artist. And then my first EP, I just posted on Facebook originally, and next thing I knew, I was getting record deal offers and doing big tours. And I thought, hey, why not follow in father's footsteps?
And was that something, I'm curious, Kandle, that you always thought you might do, like from a younger age?
Definitely not. I always loved the world of music and rock and roll, but I never thought I really had the talent for it. I just loved writing and creating, and I worked quite hard to learn how to sing and play guitar because I didn't have it naturally.
Is that right? You would never, man, girl, you got a voice. Like you have a voice. I've been listening to the album all week, and it's and we'll get to that in a minute. But and Neil, did you kind of think that your children might follow in your footsteps, or did you hope that they might?
Don't think so.
No.
It's a debaucherous world. Don't do it.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't, if I remember correctly, which is probably not remembering much, but I never really encouraged it or discouraged it, right?
Right.
So when they wanted to learn some songs when they were, in high school and stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's the right chord, or that's not, I don't know how to play that. Why don't you figure it out, kind of thing.
Right. Tough love, eh?
Yeah. And then next thing I know, they have a band, so I got a little bit involved in that, just helping them record, and then Kandle wanted to do something on her own because she was chief writer in that band, and she definitely has a natural talent for writing. Not everybody's a writer, right?
That's right.
And you have to have sort of an innate sense of what that is. It's not something you can really be schooled in, I don't think. It's just something you just know how to do and how to express yourself.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think you either have it or you don't.
Musicians out there, but none of them are really writers. And there's lots of great writers that aren't necessarily great musicians, but they know how to put a song together and deliver it. So
100%. And Neil, I heard through another interview that when you were younger early on, your brother suggested that maybe it might be an idea for you to emulate somebody. And if I'm correct, you chose Eddie Cochran.
That was a guitar thing. So yeah.
Right.
He said,
and so what was it about Eddie Cochran that got your interest?
Well, I'd read, or this is like my older brother reading, Hit Parader, Hit Parader magazines and Rolling Stone, and this is before anything to do with music other than the Ed Sullivan Show or that kind of thing that you could see,
right,
or even read about a rock band. But it was like Keith Richards or whatever would study blues guy, maybe B.B. King, or Eric Clapton studied B.B. King, and so he said, you got to pick your guy, right? And it was like, well, Eddie Cochran, he looked cool, and he had all those rockabilly riffs, like
right,
you riff off a chord, ding dong, ding ding ding. Everything's on a chord, but you kind of moving your hand around, and so that's what I started to do, is play, listen to the record, put it on 16 speed, so it was twice as slow. And
right. Stop, start.
I did it, and I started to learn some rockabilly riffs. That sort of was my introduction into guitar playing.
Right, cool. And Kandle, what about you? Do you have any mentors or people that inspired you that maybe you wanted to emulate or that you admired?
Quite a few. I mean, I started kind of learning guitar, asking boys at school to teach me different rock songs, a Pink Floyd song or a Doors song.
Or a Nirvana song.
Yeah, it's like, I'll give you a toonie or a cinnamon bun if you can show me how to play it. And I was just, I fell in love with classic rock at a pretty young age, and just, was like mesmerized by Jimmy Page and like all the greats. And I remember the first day ever that I started strumming guitar, and it wasn't terrible. And I had this whole epiphany that maybe I wouldn't suck.
Maybe I can do this, right?
Yeah, because you're quite awkward playing guitar for the first year or so. It's choppy, and you take too long switching between notes and chords, and then one day it clicks, and you're like, "Whoa, that sounds like music."
Yeah, you gotta really stick with it, because guitar, I know a few guitar teachers, and apparently the dropout rate is pretty high, because it is something you have to fight through the calluses and the sore fingers and the the twang when you don't hit the strings and stuff like that. But man, it sure paid off. And so Neil, I'm wondering, because 5440 is such a different genre of music, and as opposed to a family curse. And I'm wondering, what was the catalyst for you to sort of choose that genre?
That all came sort of naturally and by accident from a few different paths. So 4 of the songs were Danny, Michelle, and I jamming around in the 5440 studio a few years back now.
Like 20 years ago.
Something like that.
I didn't know.
A few.
Yeah. And we always meant to do something with some of these tunes, and nothing ever happened. And then another pathway was I was just playing around trying to learn slide guitar, just slide tune. So it's where you know the strings.
It's hard.
So you play, you can just slide across the whole fretboard, and it's a chord, and it kind of works. And so I just thought, well, this is kind of cool. Not necessarily for 5440, but it's a cool kind of bluesy thing. And then it all started when I went to the Nutcracker.
With the Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker. And it was during a Christmas. This is a few years back, not too many, and
5,
something like that. And it's kind of falling asleep, but it was at Christmas time, and Kandle was living in Montreal. Our other daughter was in LA, and then my wife was actually in Calgary with her mother, who was having a knee operation. And then, so it's boring, and I was falling asleep. And then there was a section that I kind of perked awake, like I never really heard this before, and it was a nice little 6/8 thing, a nice progression. And I went, wow, that sounds like a cool, 50s early rock and roll ballad to me. And I can't remember what part. So I went and I downloaded the Nutcracker, and I scanned it all, and I found, and I sort of like, oh, it's kind of like that chord, kind of like that chord. And I came up with a chord progression, which is a song off the album called In Every Town. And I was talking to Kandle, I said, I got these chords, and it's kind of a 50s, waltz or 6/8 thing. And, what if you sing over it? And then she amazingly wrote the words and melody like in a day and sent it to me. I'm like, oh my God, we've got something going on here. So, and then I said ones, and then I said, I got these things I did with Danny Michelle. What can you do with that?
Yeah, you didn't say how long you've been sitting on those. You're like, what about this?
And all she said was, give me a title.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, and I would just, whatever came into my head, like LA Blues or Cemetery Blues or Desert Blues. try to put the blues, you know, to make it like, you know, poor, you know, there I am out in the gutter, you know.
Well, I find it interesting, guys, because there's a lot of reference, like there's a lot of sort of dark, obscure kind of overtones, and yet a lot of the references are about family. And I thought that was an interesting combination, and I'm wondering what is the story behind a family curse? Is there a story? It sounds like a story, or was it just kind of seemed to fit the style of the music, which is kind of, and you know, I'll say this, I love this album. I've been listening to it all week, and and by the way, everybody, the link is scrolling along the bottom of your screen. Go and check out the music there. I just love it because it to me, it's fresh, it's unique, and it's haunting, and it's mesmerizing. And the first thing I thought, I watched Shake and Shudder was the first piece that I saw it, and right away thought of like a Rob Zombie movie or a Tarantino flick, you know, very, very like Pulp Fiction or Kill Bill or something like that. And was that the intent behind the music from the get-go, was to kind of go down that route, or did it just evolve that way?
No, that was always, I think, the jam that we dug, you know, that it would be it'd be one of those shows, you know.
Tarantino is definitely in mind, and making it more like fictional and cinematic thematically, because, you know, we have 5440, we have Kandle, let's do something different. So even a lot of the lyrics, you know, are just either stream of consciousness or like telling stories or something, and being able to be characters in this band, because in our bands we're just, you know, ourselves.
It's like a weird version of the Staple Singers, you know, Papa Staples and Mavis or something like that, but we're kind of outlaws in this trashy southern white area.
Yeah, we're white trash.
And so who primarily did the writing? Was it like Kandle, did you do most of the writing? What was the writing process looking like for this album?
Most of the instrumental was done by Dad, and some with Danny, and he'd send me the instrumentals, and then I would write the lyrics and melody and send it back, and then we go, hey, that's a song.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was a neat little collaboration that worked.
Yeah, and it's a fun way of trying to write like that, when he sends me, like, you know, 4 minutes of music, and there's already a part that's clearly that should be the verse, then this part should be the chorus, and this, so I have to write within this, you know, these parameters that already exist. So it's kind of a fun challenge as a songwriter, because I didn't change anything. I didn't say, oh, we need different chords and we need a different part here. I'm like, this is the song, I'm going to fill it with lyrics and melody, and that's it.
Yeah,
right.
We didn't change anything.
No, we didn't adjust or change.
As soon as we wrote it, we were like, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's something to be said for knowing when it's done, and you know what I mean, because you can pick it apart and drive yourself crazy, and you know, sometimes it's just done and it's, you know, it's just good the way it is, and it's almost like less, not kind of less is more theory, but you know what I'm saying, right? Sometimes you can drive yourself nuts trying to.
Oh yeah, we've done that too.
Yeah, we've done that in our other project.
Not in this band.
Speaking of which, how is it working with family? Is it a different sort of atmosphere than working with, you know, people that aren't your dad?
I mean, for me, like I've always just trusted his opinion and used his knowledge, and I learned how to operate the studio and Pro Tools and everything from him. So it was pretty much a natural progression for me, and because of what I learned from him, I was able to record my parts on my own.
Yeah, we have a common language. I mean, there's a saying in a band, you know, like, you know, 5440, the priority was always, you know, people that you could hang in a van with 2 weeks, you know, in a row, and then go through all that. And then if you're still friends and together, then it's going to work. Well, I mean,
we're still friends.
You know, I've known this kid.
You've known her a while, right?
We have a rapport already.
We go way back.
We go way back. Not farther than the band, actually. I had the band before you were born. Oh. Yeah, that's true.
The band's your first baby.
Yeah. But so
I love how Kandle's just spewing out interesting information that you probably would rather she didn't.
Oh, it's all good. It get a lot worse, trust me.
Right on.
Anyway, yeah, it's just basically that because she learned, you know, all my quirky ways of doing things and bad habits, we communicate musically very easily.
Right. Well, that's important. No, I think
when she tries to commune with other people, she'll say something like, you know that, and
Need
they go,
more cunt, less like a little more.
and I don't know what she's talking about, but I know what she's talking about. It's
Well, Kakan is a professional term, I'm sure. Right on. And so I'm curious, Kandle, when you're little, do you know that, like, is there a part of you that knows that, you know, dad's kind of a big deal? Like, dad's a rock star. Is there a party when you're a kid that knows that, or is he's just dad?
I mean, just dad until like a friend's parent would be like weird or something. You know, like,
right.
ask for like an autograph, or I'm like, that's my dad. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But when it's all, you know, it's pretty normal.
It's just normal, I guess. Yeah, you don't know what it'd be like to have a dad that went to work in a bank, probably, right? It's just
like backstage and studios have felt like home to me forever, and that's still where I feel most at home.
Yeah,
right.
It's very nostalgic, and it feels like family.
Yeah, she's been coming to the studio since in a, what do you call those things? You put a baby? No. Car seat thing. You know? It's like
a carrier
up and down beside the mixing board.
It's like a pet carrier, only different. Right on. We're getting a bunch of comments in here, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Barb Sim is in the house, and she's saying, "Hi Kelly, hi guys. What a blessing to have both Neil and Kandle on." I would agree, Barb. Ron Hockey is saying, "Hello, all. Great show. Rock on, Kandle." You got a fan there. Tony Ormsby Horncastle is just saying hi all. Keith Clark wants to know blues to Nutcracker ? He's confused by that.
Well, tell you what, go listen to the Every Town song and see if you can spot the part of Nutcracker that I lifted it from.
There you go. There's a challenge for you.
I'll send Tchaikovsky his royalties.
Awesome. So yeah, there you go, Keith. Go and check that out and you can find your answer, hopefully. James Beaudry Music. My friend James has been waiting for this and so pumped for this for weeks now. So James is saying, just a shout out, I absolutely loved catching you at Together Again last year in Edmonton.
Oh, yeah. That was good.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for being here, James. Always good to see you, buddy. You all rock so much. James is just like can't stop talking because he's thrilled. Much love and respect to each of you. Ron Hockey is saying near normal most times. I'm not sure what he's referring to there. And UC's in the house. Hi, UC. Just popping in to say hello, superstar. You look incredible. I think he's talking to you guys. But yeah, lots of fans in the house, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. I'm just going to take a second to thank my show sponsors, Writers and Rockers Coffee Company. Have you guys heard of this coffee?
No,
so
but
this is the Queen City Kids blend. But
okay, Queen City Kids, cool.
Yeah, and so Lee Aaron just came out with her own blend, and Helix has one, and Trooper has one.
So
and
what do they blend it with?
The $1 million secret. So the artists basically they get their own blend and they kind of choose what goes into it, what type of roast it is, and they endorse the coffee, and there you go. So nice. So thank you to my sponsors for that. I wanted to talk about one of my favorite songs on the album is the Cemetery Blues. And there's a line in there, who's gonna marry me, who's gonna bury me? And again, it's family kind of combined with a little bit of darkness. And I'm wondering what was the inspiration behind that song? Because I think it's really cool. It's one of my favorites.
I didn't write the words.
It's actually Barry twice, but everyone thinks Mary, which is funny.
Which I told her, keep it as Mary. And then
I know. So one day I'm going to sing it as Mary and see if anyone notices.
I think that works. Kind of the same thing. I said that right out loud. I did. Sorry, all the married people watching. I didn't mean that at all. Buried, married, whatever kind of thing. But so where does your inspiration come from for these songs? Kandle, I'm assuming, because you do most of the writing.
Yeah, that one was really about just kind of reflecting on life and realizing how many things I wasn't doing out of fear, and knowing that there's a big world out there and amazing things to see and do and try, and how most of us are just in our little bubbles, our little homes, and we think things are impossible. Like, I can't do that, that's crazy, I can't travel, like that's too expensive, and I just I was reflecting on that, and the first line is, I don't live life like I should, and I'd never run off to Hollywood, and thinking of all these things I know I'd never do, but I don't have an excuse. And then, you know, that leading to the idea of I just end up alone because I'm too afraid to get out there into the world.
Right. I don't think you're alone with that, Kandle. And I really appreciate your being so candid, you know, about that, feeling that way. And I think, maybe this is true for you, maybe it's not, but I think for a lot of people, COVID kind of caused a shift in that, you know, as in like, we don't know how much time we have and who saw that coming, right? And I'm wondering, did it change for you, your perspective on, you know, okay, now I'm just going to get out there and do stuff. Like I'm going to get out there and be fearless.
Yeah, it definitely did. But the ironic part of it was COVID made me more afraid and it gave me way more anxiety and more like panic attacks about all these intentions that I had. So that it was a little rough start for me to get going again and performing again. But yeah, I'm still very much in that mindset of I want to get out into the world. I don't want to stay in one city. I don't want to, you know, live one life that's the same every day. That there's too much to do, too much to see.
Absolutely. I love it. I
have to keep into context in the terms of a family. Oh, she's going to get her cat who's scratching at the door. Of a family curse, and in that song and all songs on the record that, you know, we're conscious that we wanted to be a blues band, but sort of a modern take or her take on what having the blues is. We all get the blues. We all have blue days, right? We all have dark days. That is the blues, right? It doesn't have to be all about robbing a bank, although we have one of those songs too. So,
look at the
it all fits into that theme of you know, nobody knows the troubles I've seen, right? Which is these original gospel and blues vibes, and rock and roll and everything is extended out of that.
Absolutely. And did it change for you, Neil? Like did the COVID, the whole situation kind of shift, maybe like I was just sharing with Kandle, you know, you just suddenly you want to get out there and get busy living. I have a friend who's in his biggest line is get busy living. And that sure became clear after COVID. And I'm wondering, was that the case for you as well, where you kind of had a different perspective on things?
I suppose. I think everybody went through something, you know, on that trip. You know, I had a lot of ups and downs and got a little frustrated, you know, like, come on, let's get going.
The false hope. You're like, oh, we're getting back. Oh, we have,
yeah, right.
And also divided a lot of people, you know, one thing I learned is that a lot of people come to their own feelings and decisions and beliefs at their own pace. And I've seen people you know, I mean, it got hairy with some people who are good friends of mine and even some family members. And then, you know, you work it out and it comes around or it's no longer a big deal. But it was interesting to see, you know, people go through all that. So that was a thing. As far as 5440 goes, we had a blast. We just started talking about old days and stories, and we made an album that's going to come out soon, all about old stories that happened to us over the years. And it's almost a comedy album, but it's a rock album.
Oh, cool. So when's that coming out, Neil? What's the title of it? And can you tell us when it's coming out?
West Coast Band. That's the title track. We're a West Coast band. You know, and there's a song called Vodka Surprise, which is the drink we drink before we go on stage.
No surprise at all.
We named the song after our pre-show drink.
Good drink.
And there's a song about everybody in the band. You know, there's one called Hey Brad. That's
my favorite.
Table for One is about Matt. Yeah, it just goes on. So they're all kind of funny. There's even one about our manager. So
I love the sort of lackadaisical titles you just throw out there because they're just fun. Yeah. You know, like Hey Brad, or you know, like I love it. I'm curious, Neil, because what do you think it is? Because you're still touring with 5440, still hugely successful. I would imagine now, though, it's kind of cool because there'd be like a couple of generations in the audience. As other bands that have been on the show have said, yeah, you know, that have had the successful career for a long time. You know, now there's that age group that was there in the beginning. Now their kids are there and stuff. And I'm wondering, with 5440, what is it do you think about those songs that people still want? Like, what is it about the songs that has allowed for such longevity and the fact that people still want to see them?
Honestly, I don't know. I know that once it gets ingrained in somebody, you know, from being a fan of other artists, let's just say, that you like to hear those songs, and it's like they become part of your, I don't know, world, growing up, identity, whatever you want to say.
For sure.
And it's neat seeing some of these younger kids, you know, into the songs because they clearly weren't born when they came out.
Right. Yeah.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah.
Whenever my friends, you know, have come to their first 5440 show, they're like, I knew all the songs. Like, oh my God, it really took me back. You know, because your parents rocked out.
Right. And does that
was we played a show, I think where was it? It was in Lethbridge for all I know. With the Stampeders. This is before COVID, and they were so funny. They were great set. And the drummer's like, a lot of familiar faces out there. Oh, you're the grandkids.
But how wonderful that they want to come out. I just, you know, I think if you can go out, you know, if I had kids and I could take my kid to see the people that I grew up, you know, who formed my life, and that they could too enjoy the music with me, I think that would be the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Yeah,
I bet. And so, Kandle, does that make you? It must make you proud when you take your friends to a concert, and that's your dad, right? That's got to be kind of cool.
I've never not had a good time at a 5440 show. It's just
she's always stealing the rider.
I'm always stealing the rider. But I mean, something that I've learned from this guy and the band is they put on a great show every single time. And whatever's going on, if they don't feel good, or, you know, the venue's not great, or something's off, doesn't matter. They go up, they rock out, and the fans are happy every time. And it's just always a great experience. So, I mean,
thanks.
I've seen you probably 500 times.
Right.
Singing along to Sheila and everything and rocking out.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think that's one of the other reasons why people love these songs still, because I know for me, like when I hear Ocean Pearl, I remember where I was that year. I remember what was going on in my life that year, you know, and same with Sheila's. And so I think that's why these songs are still on everyone's playlist, is because it takes you, for me, it takes me back to a simpler time. You know, I don't know if it was simple, but you know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to say the good old days, because that implies that there's no good days now, but it definitely was a simpler time, you know? And that's why I'm still a fan of the music from the 80s. Neil, here's a question for you. Do you miss anything about the 80s music industry? Like about that time, about that whole era? Because so much magic came out in the 80s and 90s. What did you say, Kandle?
Well, those like, I remember talking to Dave Gann, and, you know, because he was primarily with the Matt Good Band back in those days. And he was like, yeah, we really were living in the golden era of the record business.
Right.
So those were, you know, there was record companies, and they sold CDs or cassettes or vinyl before that. And that drove the business. So you had big budgets, you know, we make now for a fraction of the dollars we had, you know, to make albums in the 80s and 90s. The other thing about the 80s and 90s for us is that we really played, and we still really play.
Right.
Whereas you go to a lot of, we did a country festival in Lucknow, which was great fun, and we were the token classic rock band.
Right.
So, you know, we got up there and say, we're gonna change the radio station for you for an hour or so. And there were some bands on before us and bands on after us, and they're all really good in country bands, but they all played to tracks, and that's okay. But I like playing with people. And then you get something going, a little swimming, a little synergy going, and it's like, oh, it goes this way, it goes that way, and then you deliver, and you bring the audience into it, and you get a sense of what you get the room, and that's what live is. But when you got to do a slave to a click track and a pre-recorded violin or whatever, it
loses something. It loses something.
Some of these big concerts you go to, you know, and it's fine. That's what people want. They sound amazing. But and then you're looking at a video screen and you're hearing pre-recorded music, and it's like, well, why did I just pay $200 for this? You know,
exactly, 100%.
At home, you know,
right? And I think if you can't do it live, you shouldn't be in a stadium performing for people, really.
So you hear stories like I just watched on Netflix the documentary of Creedence Clearwater Revival, and they went in with their first album, and you know the Beatles and everybody did this. You know, they had 7 hours. Creedence did. And they recorded their first album in 7 hours because that's all the time they had. And they just played it because they were really well rehearsed. They knew what they were doing. They played it. When we went in and did, you know, Sheila, for instance, we were in a big room in LA and Rumble Recorders all set up with monitors just like we were live. That's what the producer wanted to do. And he pressed record, you know, and we played it. A couple of times we had to go overdub a guitar or whatever. But it was to tape. You had 24 tracks to fill.
Right.
And nowadays with Pro Tools and computer, and we're all slaves to it now, digital, everything, you know, you could have 2,000 takes. It's supposed to save time and just creates more, because then you got to listen to everything and all that stuff. But there's something,
and then it goes back to that not stopping when it's enough, like what we were talking about earlier, right?
You got into a room, you know, they worked on the sound, and then you played it, and then I'd go in and sing over top later, that kind of thing. So, and those are our top selling records by far.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
we really played when that's all you could do. There was no other option.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the 80s were a great time for musicians in general, because I was on the road for 23 years back in the 80s too, not to the level of any success, but, you know, making a reasonable living doing it. And I feel kind of bad for the newer generation that there isn't the work. You know, there used to be so much. My joke used to be, you know, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a new gig. You know, there was work everywhere. And if you wanted to live on the road and work, you could live on the road indefinitely and work. And that's why I think bands like yourself
now.
No, and I think that bands like yourself, and, you know, I was talking with Jay Semco last week, and the Northern Pipes was here, and we were saying the same thing. You guys got the opportunity to go out and get your chops built up and play and pay your dues and get, you know what I mean? And I think it just made for better. I think it made for better music. You know, I think it did.
I mean, back in the day, we would go on the road for, I don't know, 3 weeks to 2 months kind of thing. And it would be somewhere in the second week that we would go, okay, we finally got our legs.
Right.
You know, now there's no band that's starting out can get that many gigs in a row. You just can't do it.
No. So Kandle. So go ahead, Neil.
No.
I should just say, Kandle, on that note that your dad just made, as a younger person, what advice would you give, you know, younger up and coming artists that want to break into the business?
Woof.
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 Don't do it. I don't know. Like, it is really hard. Just in the years that I've been in the business, how much it's changed. Already. You know, like I caught the very end of Much Music and things like that. And when I first started, like, I was on TV a lot and on the radio a lot, and already, like, that's gone. If I don't have TikTok numbers, I lose sponsors. If I'm not doing all these dumb things that I don't think have anything to do with music or creativity, you're no longer relevant. Mm-hmm. And coming out of COVID, like, for smaller bands, if you're not, you know, at the top, there's not as many clubs. Most of the agents have moved on and found new careers. And I'm back to playing gigs for $200 for a 5-piece band. And I'm like, wow, ouch. So yeah, I'm just picking the selective one-offs and the shows that make sense. But it's, you know, it's more an online world now anyways. And if you're not tech savvy, you're probably not gonna make a splash. No.
Yeah, 100%. And so, like, do you remember where you were the first time you heard yourself on the radio? Where were you, and what was that like? Like the first time, it's like, that's me on the radio.
I still remember. I was in Montreal, and the rock station there picked up my single, and I was driving with a girlfriend of mine, and I was just, oh my God, that's me! I didn't know what to do, so I started singing along to myself and rolled down the windows.
That's me. That's me. Must have been slightly surreal, right? A little bit surreal, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, does that mean I'm good?
Yeah, I'm on the radio. Neil, how about you, my friend? That must have been quite an experience for you as well.
I don't actually remember. One story I do remember, though, is when we first rolled into Toronto, which is like 1986, and there's an alternative radio station called CFNY, and Baby Ran had just been #1 that week. So we did similar to like Anna. We rolled down the windows and we're #1. And all these people looking at us like we're lame-os, you know, stupid people. Shut up. But we were pretty excited.
Do you remember what Grandma used to do?
Oh yeah.
Oh, tell us what Grandma used to do.
Oh my God, she was the best and so proud. And anytime that she heard 5440 playing in someone else's car in a restaurant we were driving, she'd like roll down your window and go, "That's my son."
Like, wow, you gotta love that, eh?
Yeah.
So proud. Like,
right.
She did that all the time.
Yeah. Aww, she wanted everyone to know.
You gotta love us. So I'm thinking there was no family curses or anything weird going on in your. Sounds like a loving family.
Yeah, I know. We were pretty tight.
Right on. So Lee Canfield's in the house. He's a good friend of the show. Hi, Lee. He's saying, he always says we. So we, that means he's having fun. Just got to say rock and righteous vibes to you, Kelly, and your divine guests. Continued success to the both of you.
Nice.
Thanks, Lee, for popping in. Medina Sebastian, my friend from Argentina. Saludo to everybody. He's tuning in from Argentina. Very cool. Here's a question for you, Kandle. What do you love most about your dad? This is the Barbara Walters. This is the Barbara Walters portion of my show. I'm just curious. What's the best thing about him?
Don't go there.
I think his creativity. You know, like I've been blocked many times in my artistic journey where I get caught up trying to, please the right label guy or the right manager. And, I've switched teams a lot and I'm always I've been stuck many times where I'm trying to make music or art for other people. And he's just always done it for himself, always kept the inner child, the playful side, which is so important as a creator that,
Right.
as soon as you start trying to do it for someone else, you're lost. And so every time I get lost, I look at what Niz is doing and he's playing with some weird synth and like, check this out. And like got this family curse sign that he cut out and made. And the creativity is endless. And I find that very inspiring and awesome.
Great. Aww. And that childlike nature that you have, Neil, is very evident. Like just even in the promo posts and like all the promo pictures I looked out of you is, you can tell that there's a spunky spirit there. And I love that. And I think, and it kind of meshes with the music that you're doing because the music on the new album is definitely like, cheeky and fun. And yet at the same time, some of it is just sultry. And, it's down, and I hope this is okay that I say this because, you're a father and daughter, but some of the music is just downright sexy. You know what I mean? It's just, that's on you. Yeah. It's sultry and you're, and yeah, largely due to your vocals, Kandle. And so is that the one style that you favor or is it a takeoff from what you would normally do in another project?
Kinda.
It's probably what I favor. I mean, I like musically, I basically like anything that gives me chills and whether it's something like haunting and ominous or like sultry, that's what
in
appeals
an old-timey
to me.
way, right? Like an
yeah.
old, like a.
I can't really relate or get down to like any current pop music or top 40. I just feel like there's no feeling in it. So
right.
I usually lean towards the theatrical side of things.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it shows in the music. What were you saying there, Neil?
I don't know. Can't remember. Yeah. She's old time. I hear like if you close your eyes and you listen to her vocals, it sounds like it could have been from the 50s or
for sure.
Right. Somewhere in that era, one of those voices, those character voices. And I always like, character more than anything out of a voice.
For sure. I call them signature voices and I'm a big fan of them too. It's like you're not necessarily able, singing like a variety of things, but you got this signature. When you hear two notes, you know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And one of the first songs I heard of you, Kandle, I thought of Patsy Cline for some, reason right away. And just like, yeah, it's fresh and it's unique. And it's, you guys definitely check it out. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen, All Things a Family Curse there. So I got a question for you, Neil, kind of the same as what I asked Kandle. What would you want most for Kandle in this world?
Money.
That's what you have him for. But no, what do you wish for her? What is your wish for her?
Essentially just to enjoy the ride that is her life. The gift that is her life that I helped give her.
Thank you.
By the way.
Yeah.
And
not
Neil,
worry about stuff because you know what? Tomorrow's another day.
Right. And it's all small stuff, right? Like, there's, that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And then underneath it says it's all small stuff.
Yeah.
Really it is. And so, Neil, what have you learned from Kandle?
That's a good question.
Yes, I like this question.
Yeah, I'm still learning. That's one way to answer that.
Great.
How have I learned from her? I don't know. What do you think I've learned? I don't know.
No, you can throw it back to me.
My friend Gary Jones I'm just going to hate Gary. He's a good friend of the show, saying families that play together stay together.
Yeah.
So
unlike couples.
What's Well, yeah, maybe I'll give you a minute to think about that, Neil, because that was kind of an off the cuff question. And Neil, what's the best advice that Dad's ever given, or Kandle, the best advice that Dad's ever given you?
Who are we talking to? And the question is to who?
Me.
Oh.
Best advice you've ever given me.
Oh, I don't know if I give
I know.
Don't embarrass me.
That's not advice. That's a warning.
I love it.
I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but there was one show I had to do a guest appearance on a French artist on my label in Quebec, and I sang on the record, and I was terrified. I mean, I wrote it out phonetically. I don't speak French. I mean, I try. I'm terrible.
Right.
And they wanted me to sing it live at the launch of the artist's show. And I remember Dad saying, if you look amazing, no one will remember if you mess it up.
Yeah.
So
he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Yeah. I got my hair all done. I wore a really cool outfit and cool makeup. And of course, there was a technical problem at the show. And apparently my mic wasn't on. I didn't know because I had a monitor. But I sang the whole song and everybody was acting kind of weird. My label was being weird after it. I was like, maybe I said something really offensive in French. And then the next day in the paper, it was like, unfortunately, we didn't get to hear Kandle's vocals, but she looked incredible.
But she looked fan-freaking-tastic.
So I always think of if the sound is bad or I'm not feeling the venue, I'm like, ooh, I better pull out the extra cool outfits tonight.
You know, but that's great advice, though, because, you know, one of the things I learned early on, and I think it was from a music teacher, was that, you know, people hear with their eyes.
What's the thing? It's science. Light travels faster than sound.
Absolutely. That is.
So it's minute, but it is that fast. And if people get a sense that, you know, you're confident and know what you're doing, then what they hear is kind of what they see. It's a little slight delay. And if you're all nervous and scared, and then they hear that, you know, and then
they'll hear it differently. They'll actually hear it differently.
It's on itself. Yeah, I believe that. I don't know if it's true. But.
Yeah. I think good advice. That was good advice. Dad gave you some good advice there.
Yeah.
So Christmas must be fun at your house. Eh? Is there a lot of singing? Is there a lot of singing around the holidays?
Oh.
No. Just a lot of drinking. I don't know what happens.
Kandle is an excellent DJ. She seems to know how to, you know, tune a room to the mood that it needs at the time. And it just gets everybody in the right frame of mind, no matter what kind of vibe is going on. So even Christmas.
And the Christmas songs.
And she's writes some good Christmas songs. There's a couple that are outstanding out there. And yeah, we don't sing Christmas carols or anything like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Just a kind of a normal family first Christmas.
Yeah.
So
Kandle eat a lot.
Right, that's, you know, for me, that's what Christmas is. I think for kids, it's the gifts, and for adults, it's just the
make a gingerbread house with her mom every year. It seems like.
Yeah, that's
we want to eat it, but we can't because it's beautiful. It's still in the living room.
The conflict, yeah.
Right, that's a great tradition. I actually have that tradition with my sister too. And last year I went home and we made them, and for whatever reason, I don't know what happened, but we were staring in awe at our finished project, and just in time to watch it just melt and completely disintegrate. Yeah, but no, good stuff. So I'm just curious, Kandle, do you have something else that, like, I know your focus right now is a family curse, but do you have another band that you play with that you can tell us about or share with us, or do you just?
That's my solo career, and I'm on a new album now. I'm kind of just doing demos, but I'm very bad at doing demos, so they're turning into the final tracks.
Yeah, the album that came out during COVID, Set the Fire, is really outstanding. And you should check it out. It's got a cool, almost retro vibe in some ways. And same thing, great lyrics, great that you like that old-timey voice. You're going to hear it all over that.
Cool. And
songs.
Yeah, 2 Bond-inspired songs. And,
so, and where do we find that, Kandle? Where can the viewers find that album?
The usual.
Oh yeah, it's on all. I think I have 7 albums out now, and they're all.
Oh, 7 albums out. Look at you go. And so is it just under Neil Osborne?
Just Kandle.
Just Kandle.
Just Kandle, one word. What a cool name, by the way. There's a question. Where did that name come from, Neil?
Good question.
Cool name. Very cool name.
She has mixed feelings about the name, apparently.
Weirds me out.
Weirds her out. her middle name's Maria, so if this Kandle thing doesn't work, she can always be Maria. Right?
Weirds me out too.
I think Kandle is a really cool name.
Nancy. Nancy, I call her Nancy a lot.
So is Danny now.
Danny Michelle calls her Nancy. That's because when she was a little baby, you know, they couldn't talk really well. We'd say Kandle, and she goes, "My name no Kandle, my name Nan." She tried to say Kandle, but it would come out Nano, and then we started calling her Nanny. And now,
well, I think it's cool. I, for one, think it's a very cool name, especially for being in the industry. You know what I mean? So you're one word like Kandle, like share.
So that was she was born. I was holding her after she was born, just after she was born, and Janine, my wife, and I were like going over some names. And then she had seen like a Betty Davis movie or something where the character was named Kandle, and then Kandle's little arm went like E.T. We looked at each other and we went, "I guess it's Kandle," but she claims it was like, "Not that one."
Don't I have a say in this?
Not that one.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
A little mix up in the communication there, but it stuck.
Good stuff. So check that out, guys. Check out Kandle's 7 albums and 5440's new album. And for sure, check out A Family Curse. Once again, the link is scrolling across the bottom of your screen. I can't thank you guys enough for hanging out with us tonight.
Our pleasure, Kelly. It was a good time. Thank you.
Absolute slice. And yeah, take care, stay safe and sane. Is there anything coming up that we need to know about? Any upcoming concerts or shows?
Commodore Ballroom, Thanksgiving weekend. A Family Curse is opening for 5440.
Oh, there you go.
How we got that? I'll never know.
Yeah, right.
And also Danny Michelle, who'll be drumming with Family Curse, and then Danny Michelle, and then 5440. So it'll be a really fun in-house,
several costume changes, and showers,
family affair. So if you're around, and then special surprises and guests, and it's gonna be good.
Just general shenanigans, I guess. Eh?
Yeah.
Right on. Thank you guys so much. Continued success on this album and everything that you do in the future. And make sure you come back the next time you have any new project. You're delightful. Okay. You're welcome here anytime. Definitely. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks again to my show sponsors, Writers and Rockers Coffee Company. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Until we see you next week, take care. Be nice to each other. Mark Howard, music producer extraordinaire, will be with us next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
I'll say hi to Mark for me.